All right, my friends. We just pressed the Let's Go Live button. Over here, you can see we got a change of scenery. We're not in our usual location. And so we're a little nervous that the tubes may not connect themselves. So let's confirm that they're working. We're here in Las Vegas, baby, Nevada. Had a great conference over the past couple days. We're wrapping up on the day, heading back to Arizona. But before we do, we've got some business to attend to. And so want to make sure we're coming in loud and clear, that all the tubes are connecting themselves all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. We do have some segments to attend to. There's business out there afoot. Coming in loud and clear. What's up, Troy? Thanks for confirming. HD says, what's up, Sin City, baby? I know. You always forget when you haven't been to Vegas in a while and you come to Vegas and then you come to Vegas and you're like, oh my gosh, it really is Sin City everywhere. You're like, oh my gosh, there's DVDs and stores and there's a whole, our event was downtown Las Vegas, and you're driving down, you're like, oh my goodness, wow, it's really something here. And so we are wrapping up the event here. Let me give you a little, I don't know if you can see any of this, but here, there's a little bit of a window shot. We're out here by the convention center. Can't really see much. Nothing too interesting to point out over there. But that's a little Vegas scenery out the window over there. So it's working. Tremendous news. That's good news, my friends. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? And we don't trust this chair, okay? The other chair back at the studio is a little bit more engineered. This chair's, it might keel over. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about Trump and being a political prisoner. We've got 3 segments that we're going to unpack today, and there's a lot going on. Of course, Trump is seated for a pre-sentence interview today, and it's going to be happening virtually. And so we're going to run through a bunch of this stuff, figure out what's going on there. We've already talked about this pretty important thing that's happening today, because this is the opportunity for an independent review. We know that the government is going to make a recommendation. We don't know if they're going to ask for jail yet or not, but the prosecutors will make their pitch. The defense will make their pitch. They'll come out and say, well, Trump has never been convicted of a crime before. This is a first offense, even if you disagree with the charges. He's never been convicted of anything before, and there's no likelihood of reoffending, and so on and so forth. And so probation is appropriate. And then this will be an opportunity for an independent person, probation, to give their assessment. They're supposed to be independent, but they still work for the government, get their checks for the government. So, and they're in New York. So we'll see if they are fair and independent, or what their recommendation is based on similarly situated cases that have come through New York before. But that's happening today, and there's a story that they're actually preparing for jail. And I've seen a lot of different headlines around this. These are all various reports, and some of it I think is a little bit too enjoyable for some people on the left. They get way too excited about these stories. They wake up every morning, they're like searching for Trump jail analysis, just going through rabbit hole videos on YouTube constantly. Is Trump going to jail? Just really enjoying themselves too much. Like, you can envision Liz Cheney, Angeron the Areola, probably Tish James, all get very excited with themselves, Conway, the rest of them. So very much enjoying that. And we'll talk through what's happening. Alvin Bragg is also going to be appearing in front of Congress. Remember last week we talked, Jim Jordan sent over a letter to them saying, we'd like to talk to you, both Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo. And so Bragg responded and said that he would show up. So we'll read through that story, see what is inside over there. We got a couple clips. Trump was in Vegas. Your boy's here in Vegas, and Trump was also in Vegas yesterday. I didn't get to see him. I was at an event. I was going to try to make my way over there, but the logistics just didn't work out. But he was here, and he was ripping on Jack Smith. So we'll see what he said about that. He was calling him a dumb son of a B. So we're going to have a little bit of a B word content warning coming up. If that's concerning to you, we'll earmuff warn you before we get there. We also have a clip from Merrick Garland last week. He was asked about the classified documents case. Trump's talking about that case as well. And then we're waiting on this immunity decision from the Supreme Court. When is this going to be coming out? maybe this week, maybe not. So we'll keep our eye on that. And some other clips reaction. I got Zoe Lofgren queued up. I got Andrew Weissman queued up. Michael Cohen was out making some statements. And so we'll get into all of that in our first segment. Then we also have Congress reacting. So all of the normal folk, AOC, the rest of them, very much panicked, a little bit nervous over the prospect of Trump winning in 2024. It's looking good. Every day we keep waking up. The news looks like Trump is getting more momentum. He was here in Vegas. He raised a bunch of money in California, a bunch more money here in Vegas, and is seemingly pulling away in the polls. All the various election markets, Predict It and Poly markets, whatever they're called, they're all showing this gap is widening. And unless Joe and the DNC has some vision for course correction here, it's not looking good for him. So if the trajectory remains the same, it's going to be a tough 2024 for them. So they're panicked. AOC showed up on some dumb podcast, and she was talking about how she might be thrown in jail. And the podcast host, whatever her name is just like, wow, really? You think so? Wow, amazing. And they're both sitting there playing patty cake with one another, without recognizing that people like Steve Bannon are now being subjected to prison. He's got to report to prison in a couple weeks. And Peter Navarro is already sitting in jail, not to mention the fact that they're trying to prosecute Trump and put him in jail, while simultaneously, let us not forget about our J6ers who have been in custody, many of them for years now. So it is wild that they're sitting here saying Trump might be exacting some retribution or some revenge or some nonsense when they're literally in the midst of their political prosecutions in multiple jurisdictions all across the country, sending feds to various grandmas' houses in various parts of the country. So we'll talk about that in AOC and the meltdown, because that's just kind of what these people do. And then we'll see what's going on with Joe Biden and the Biden family, because there was a new story. Lunden Roberts, the baby mama for Hunty, is now talking to people. She's out. She was on with Piers Morgan having a conversation with him, and explained that although Hunter is having some conversations with this little girl now via Zoom, Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden are not. Isn't that just nice? And we've seen this before previously with them, where we had the Christmas stockings that were hung up on the fireplace. Yeah, we don't have a lot of fireplaces in Arizona. It's like a fire outside. So the fireplace, the stockings over the fireplaces, and they were missing one for this little girl. And now we have the election right around the corner. They're getting scolded for this. Why won't you acknowledge her, Joe? She's your blood, your flesh and blood. All right, so we'll talk about that and more. And so as you can see, my friends, we've got some good stuff to get to today. I'm glad and grateful that you are here and with us. I hope your weekend was amazing and incredible. We had a great weekend here. Talked to a lot of people doing some very cool stuff here. And when I go to these events, my intention is to figure out how we can have more impact here, how we can level up the work that we do here together, reach more people, have more meaningful, deep conversations, create more connection amongst ourselves and in our community. And one of the things that we're doing now is to create that connection. We have our meetup at the Watcher Lodge meetup, watcherlodge.com. We are going to be meeting back here in Vegas on June 29th. You can go to watcherlodge.com, grab your ticket. This starts in 3 weeks. We're meeting at Trump Hotel. We got a nice room picked out. We're going to have a nice lunch, and we're going to meet offline. We're going to connect in person, and we'd love to have you join us. So grab a ticket. It's $100. Cover the food. Trump Hotel, it's nice. It's a little expensive. It's like, golly, the room's pretty inexpensive to rent, but the food's expensive. So come in, join us. The debate will be just 2 days before this. And so we may have some clips. We're going to have some intro stuff. And I'm kind of picking and choosing some fun stuff that I'm finding at these various events to bring to our event, learn how to do this stuff so we can create community both online and offline. Come join us June 29th. Go to watcherlodge.com, buy your ticket. Just click that buy ticket right there. And we'll see you over there. It's going to be a ton of fun. I am very excited to meet you. So come and join us. All right. So without any further ado, my friends, let's get into it, because we got business to attend to, starting with Trump. Prison officials now plotting to jail Trump if Judge Merchan gives them the go-ahead. If the thumbs up come down during sentencing, they could theoretically take Trump into jail right then and there. You're going to prison. They're not going to say self-surrender at a later date because maybe he'll flee. He could flee the country. This is what they think about with regular, ordinary, non-presidential candidates, non-former president criminals. They might just run if we give them time to self-surrender. Trump, maybe they wouldn't do that. Maybe they would give him some time to self-surrender, but they could theoretically take him in right then and there. So they're plotting on this. They're preparing for it. And this comes as Trump sits down with the probation people to have a conversation with them about what the appropriate sentence is. So the way this ordinarily works is a defendant goes in, they meet with somebody from probation, they complete, various states call them different things, but we call it a pre-sentence report, a PSR, which is an interview between the defendant and the probation officer, the person doing the PSR. And that's supposed to be an independent analysis and assessment for what an appropriate sentence is. And we're going to talk about what some of those factors are and some of the questions that Trump might be asked when he sits there today. But his defense team will also make a recommendation. Their recommendation will be no jail, probation for like 15 minutes. Put him on probation for 15 minutes. Let's call it a day. The judge will say, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to probably put him on probation, maybe some sort of extended release conditions like home confinement or some other work release limitations. We'll see where that goes. There's a lot that the judge could do to be creative on that. But the question is, what is the government going to recommend as well? So the defense will come out. They'll say 15 minutes, 6 months probation is perfectly fine. The government might come out. Is Alvin Bragg going to request jail? Is Matthew Colangelo going to say incarcerate this man in the middle of a 2024 election? There would be a lot of bravado if they did that, but they have already come this far. They've already indicted him in 4 different jurisdictions, charged him with 34 felonies, got convictions in what I think is an absolutely rigged trial, has been from the beginning. From the very inception, this case was dead until Biden's prosecutor, Matthew Colangelo, came over and reinstituted the whole thing. But now they're plotting, and Trump is seated for a probation interview. This is happening virtually. The report comes from NBC News. You can see, here's what they tell us. Probation interview is today. Trump is going to be seated down there in New York to talk through this. And they'll be in New York. He'll be in wherever he's at. But it's going on virtually. So here's the background. Scheduled for a virtual interview today. It's going to be a probation officer from New York City. He's going to be at his home in Mar-a-Lago, the one that the feds raided. His attorney, Todd Blanche, is going to be with him. And Trump's already been found guilty. Now, the pre-sentencing probation interview will be done over a special virtual network. They're not just going to zoom in on this puppy. Special security measures. The interviewer is going to be female. Don't know who it is. Maybe Schmillery Schminton, something, I don't know. According to 2 sources with knowledge of the situation, the call is not expected to be held over Zoom. Trump, of course, the presumptive Republican nominee, convicted last month in a rigged trial. The probation interview is required by the court to give us that independent assessment. This is what the judge is going to look at to say, all right, the defense is biased, the prosecution is biased, so here I have some independent analysis. Merchan, the acting judge, is allowing Trump's defense attorney to be present for this. Former president scheduled to be sentenced on July 11th, just days before the RNC. And there's a big question on this. We remember when we were going through some of the other evidence in this case that when the grab him by the purse tape broke from Access Hollywood back in 2016, there was talk at the RNC to get rid of Trump, to boot him off the ticket. Oh, he's too damaged. Even though the majority of the Republican Party was behind him at the time, or let's say a big plurality, they still said it was justification to get rid of him. And that didn't happen. But now, think about now it's a felony conviction, 34 felonies. You could imagine people like Mitch McConnell and others, Romney, pushing behind the scenes to try to get something done as they exit the party to prevent him from winning. And they'll just say, well, felony, maybe there's some extenuating circumstances in the rules, or we've seen other states like Washington hint that they might try to maybe remove him after the sentence and the judgment come down. We'll see. So big questions, of course, all lawfare in the middle of the 2024 election by design. Some legal experts noted that holding probation interview over video is unusual, but so is all of this. Having the former president would be unprecedented. In a New York probation location would be unprecedented, obviously. Martin Horn, former commissioner, New York City Department of Corrections and Probation, so this is somebody who works there, said it's highly unusual for a pre-sentence investigation interview to be done over Zoom, but acknowledged that an in-person visit by Trump to the probation would be, quote, very disruptive. And there's also other things that happen in criminal cases where they'll do things like, drug test you. Problem with that is the president has a national security concern with his bodily fluids. And we've seen this before in many other stories. When the president travels overseas, for example, he doesn't even poop in their toilets. All right, he does in the toilet, but they collect it. Like they collect all of the DNA because they don't want foreign intelligence agencies to just gobble up that poop and then do something with it. So do you think the Secret Service and our national security apparatus is going to be very thrilled with Trump urinating in some cup for probation in New York to see if he's on any drugs or giving a blood sample or any of these things? I don't think so. And that's going to be one of these friction points that I think is going to make it difficult for them to enforce this, because there is a real concern with having Trump have to respond and be tracked with an ankle monitor. Where is he located? So you can just pinpoint him down. Who's in control of that apparatus if they're going to put him on an ankle monitor? Who's going to control that if he is ordered to home confinement? What if he needs to move for some other reason or something like that? Does he have to get permission from the judge in order to do those things? We have competing interests, multiple layers. So they're saying it's over Zoom. Fine. He says, but you can argue that Trump's appearance at the probation officer on the 10th floor where his trial took place would also be very disruptive to probation, unfair to other defendants who don't want to be identified. So in the end, it might be better for the probation officer. So it's not Trump's fault. It's better for you guys. Horn noted that the typical purpose of probation is to obtain information on Trump's social and criminal history, financial resources, mental health, physical addiction, and to assess his living situation. Do you have a home? Do you have a place? Or do you have a job? Are you employed? Oh, do you have somebody who's taking care of you and looking after you? Do you have somebody in the house to make sure that you have support in the event you start feeling like you want to use again? Oh, good. You do have a bunch of support. Great. So you mark that in the notes. You send that over to the judge. This guy's in school. This guy's got a job. This guy's, let's say Trump. This guy's been a businessman for 60 years. He's got a $1 billion portfolio, never been charged or convicted of a crime, former president, and has a huge portion, if not the majority of this country at his back currently as he enters into a new national election. So all those are pretty good features. You say, well, yeah, maybe that guy's not somebody we should be putting on probation or putting in custody, but all right. It's Trump, after all. This is New York, and we know how demented they are. Now, by contrast, on the opposite side of this, they could come back out and they could say, look at all of these contempt proceedings that Trump has been held in contempt for. He's got multiple in this case. He's got Engoron's case. He's been gagged in multiple cases. He's somebody who's got 3 other pending charges. So maybe he doesn't have prior convictions, but he's got other cases. So this dude's like been running around committing crimes all over this country. And maybe they'll come back and they'll say there's a very high likelihood that he's not going to comply with the law again. He's going to violate this again. And so he's got more money than anybody, and he's got a lot of power. So the only thing, Your Honor, that's going to matter to this defendant is jail. It's the only thing that's going to resonate with him to make sure he doesn't steal the election again. And this, again, it's not about false business records. It's about stealing the election. And they don't want him to do that again. He won in 2016, but not according to them. He rigged it because of the NDA with Stormy. So a former president is facing anywhere from probation. They could put him up in prison up to 4 years. Sounds insane. Some legal experts say he's unlikely to face imprisonment, due to his age, lack of record, and other factors. And because I think it would be way too much to bite off even for them. Duncan Levin, a former prosecutor and turned defense attorney, said the prosecution is likely to ask for jail time. I feel like they will. Now, whether the judge gets it to them or not, I think the prosecution kind of has to ask for jail. This is a stolen election from 2016. This is Donald Trump. They just got done telling us there was a massive conspiracy here. So how could they not ask for jail? They're going to say this is the biggest crime of the century, essentially. It's the biggest crime of 2 centuries. 2.33 centuries. We haven't had any presidential prosecutions in 234 years. So this was so important that they had to shatter that precedent in order to do this. So now they're going to turn around and just not ask for jail. They're going to say, oh, probation. Give me a break. They should be asking for 4 years if this is as serious as they thought it was. 4 years for the 4 years that he stole from our country should be their argument, right? Let's see if they do that or not. Or if this was all about something else, which is really just keeping him bogged down, marking him a felon, and taking him off the campaign trail. I think they have to ask for it. Now, the judge, I don't think, in terms of sheer enforceability and the mechanisms by which he can enforce the sentence, I don't think that he can do jail. But I thought, and I still think that the most humiliating thing that he could do would not be jail, because jail would awaken a sleeping giant to the extent that I think they're not even prepared for. And they know that, and they don't want to bite off that much. But something that would be humiliating would be to just sentence him to home detention with work release so he could get out of home detention, basically serve jail but at home, and then you get out on work release for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Then he could go campaign, but he'd still have to report back to Florida or to one of his residences, essentially. And then that would cause people would be furious and animated, but it would not be jail, so it wouldn't have that same incarceratory feel to it. And then we'd see what he does in terms of compliance with that. So anyways, hopefully the judge is reasonable and just grants probation, but it could get more serious than that. A lot of people on the left very excited about the prospect of jail, and they will not be satisfied until and unless Trump is there. Now, I want to share this with you. So what are some of the questions, a little bit more detail on this from the New York courts websites. And so let me zoom in on this so we can see what's cooking here. But this is from the federal courts, but here's a background. So this is the type of stuff Trump will be answering when he's there with these people from probation. Family history, community ties, education background, the best schools, Wharton College School of Finance, employment history, president, physical health, outstanding, vigorous, doesn't trip over sandbags, can finish a sentence, full paragraphs, lucid, mental and emotional health. Are you kidding me? The guy's got more energy and more stamina everywhere. Every time we see him, he looks happy. People love him, and he's making America great again. So emotionally, I think he's doing well. Now, to be fair, this one's probably taxing. He's doing well in spite of 4 criminal prosecutions. So history of substance abuse, none. Doesn't drink alcohol or use drugs at all. Financial condition is amazing. A billionaire. What else do you want to know? Multiple properties, best buildings in New York that Tish is trying to steal, so on and so forth. Willingness to accept responsibility for his or her offenses. Oh, man. That one stinks, huh? Because he didn't do anything wrong. So why would Trump ever do that? So all this is pretty good. Community ties, ran the country for 4 years, wants to run the country again, not going to be fleeing to Ukraine or something. Education's good. Family history's extensive. But this one, willingness to accept responsibility. So we'll see if that one is dispositive for them. So during the investigation, probation will interview, this is the other thing, other people. They're also going to get information, substance abuse providers, law enforcement agencies, family members, court dockets, and indictments, plea deals, law enforcement agencies, counseling and substance abuse treatment records, financial records, employment records. They can do an entire, basically, audit and enema of your whole life. And this is also a nice attack vector into Trump. They just go now harass everybody and now ask everybody for their opinions, and other people get their opinions, and they go to someone else and they say, well, this is our assessment. So they get to essentially judge what they think is an appropriate penalty for the president, for Trump, from probation. Now, when possible, maybe they'll conduct a home visit. Maybe they'll go visit Mar-a-Lago. I don't know why they'd need to do that. The FBI already raided everything and took pictures of Melania and Barron's bedroom. So do they need to go see anything at all? During the visit, the officer interviews the family and assesses the living conditions. And then they write the report. Now, it's the responsibility of the probation officer assigned to the investigation to assist the court in verifying, interpreting all of the information. So they bundle it up into this big fat report. They give it to the judge. The judge then reads it. The pre-sentence report helps the court fashion what they think is the appropriate and the fair sentence. The report is also disclosed to the defense and the prosecutor. They have an opportunity to make objections and so on. Then it all goes to sentencing. Now, probation officers conducting the pre-sentence investigation prepare the PSR, and they play an integral role in all this. Courts differ, but basically the judge gets the recommendation. The judge will weigh all three of them and then make their decision on this. So what that looks like ultimately is yet to be seen, and I'm not sure that we'll see a copy of the PSR that's going to be sealed and should be sealed, and something that we don't see because it should be filled with personal information and so on. But who knows? We'll probably get some more information from it because everything leaks out of New York. So that's what we're looking for in this process as Trump sits down to do this interview. We also have a report that they're preparing for jail. So this one came out over from the Mirror. So who knows the truth or the veracity of any of these reports. I've seen a bunch of them. It wouldn't surprise me that they're preparing for this, or at least having conversations about it. But in my mind, I think when they get into the mechanics of it, when they get into the transfer, Secret Service, custody, jurisdiction, making sure it's secure, the disruption to the jail, all those things, I think practically they're not going to be able to do it. Doesn't mean they don't want to do it. Doesn't mean the judge wouldn't do it if he could, but I don't think they practically can. So he'll give him a big lecture, put him on probation, and again, maybe limit him, maybe put him on home confinement or do something like that just for the extra humiliation. But here's the report, just so we're aware this could happen. Prison bosses preparing to house Trump if he's sentenced to jail. Great. Here's what they say. Several facilities have been identified that could offer Trump a cell while keeping him safe, they say. It left U.S. legal commentators after the conviction questioning how this might work. Most high-profile detainees are housed in New York's VIP West facility. So they have a facility that they're investigating. It is mainly empty. Detainees there, like Trump's former CFO Allen Weisselberg, 76, are typically given their own cells away from where other people are locked up. Another alternative, Bellevue Hospital prison ward. Okay, it's almost like they're enjoying themselves a little too much on this. So I don't want to get into this too deep because it's just kind of gross. It's like, well, who's reading this stuff? Like Andrew Weissman reads this before bedtime. The situation is further complicated by Trump's Secret Service protection. How are you going to do that? It's understood that chiefs are working on plans for how their agents will continue to protect him if he is in jail. Former presidents by law are entitled to round-the-clock security for the rest of their lives. And this is unless Congress passes the Disgrace Act by Benny Thompson, whereby they could then remove Secret Service protection for any elected official who has been convicted of a felony. They would just remove that, transfer custody of that person from the Secret Service to the jails for the duration of the incarceratory period, and then pull him back out, retransfer custody over to the Secret Service again. By law, former presidents entitled to law enforcement. A.T. Smith, a former deputy director of the U.S. Secret Service, said the reality of the job as an agent is not always completely pleasant. He revealed that agents he's spoken to have no emotion about the prospect of going to jail, whatever. All right, so that's an article from the Mirror. Now, we do have questions about what Congress is doing. What are some of the responses to the fact that they're trying to jail Trump? Congress, last week we saw Jim Jordan sent a letter over to Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo, and he said, you guys better come over here and testify in front of Congress or sit down with us and have a meeting so we can dig into how this case came about and why it is happening in the first place. Alvin Bragg agreed to testify. This was a little curious because when we were reading through the letter last week, we were asking ourselves, another letter? Aren't we so sick of these letters because it's just one after another, round and around we go? But if a letter will instigate and initiate a response, if Alvin Bragg says, sure, we'll just come and testify, well, I guess the letter was successful then. But what is he going to say? Are we going to get anything meaningful out of it? The real next step is for Congress to do something about this, to defund the federal funding of these various states with the power of the purse and use it like they've got a pair. But here's the story. Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA who prosecuted Trump, agreed on Friday to testify before Congress, so he's coming in. Bragg, who previously resisted congressional involvement, indicated his willingness to testify. Said Congress wants to better understand the scope of the prosecution. Now, in addition, Jordan also leads the weaponization. He wants Colangelo, which is the Biden prosecutor. Bragg is just a figurehead, just like Tisch was when Colangelo worked over there. The office is committed to voluntary cooperation, which means he's going to provide testimony at an agreed upon date. They're going to also evaluate the propriety. So they'd much rather have Bragg testify than Colangelo. So Bragg just comes out and, I don't know, I wasn't involved in that. We have a great team of people who investigated that. That wasn't my decision. We make all our decisions based on probable cause, and he just deflects everything. They bring in Colangelo. They're like, hey, Colangelo, what were you doing at Obama's White House? What were you doing? Were you setting up Trump with the Steele dossier and the Russia collusion hoax when you were there working for Eric Holder? And then after that, what did you do when you went over to Tisch's? And then after that, what did you do when you were number 3 in Biden's? And then after that, what did you do with Bragg? He's the real piece. Bragg is just a Soros figurehead who's mostly meaningless. Although Mr. Trump's 7-week trial is over, he's now the first president to become a felon. The trial courts and reviewing appellate courts have numerous orders for the purpose of protecting all of this, so Trump can appeal, and he's basically telling Congress, get out of our affairs. Okay, if Trump has a problem with this, he can take it up on appeal. Trump still has criminal cases in 3 other places as part of this onslaught. But looks like, Bragg will probably write a book about it. He'll be very excited. Yeah, you get to go testify in front of Congress. Great. The case stemmed from a hush money deal with Stormy, and they brought liar Michael Cohen out to testify about all this. So we have a lot of things that could happen. The Supreme Court could come out, grant immunity, and deal with a lot of this stuff very quickly. Trump was out over the weekend ripping on this lawfare, calling Jack Smith son of a B. So we got a content warning coming up. Earmuffs if you're worried about that, but you shouldn't be because it's epic. Here is Trump saying that Jack Smith is a real piece of work, and he did this in Vegas right over there. Here's the president.
How about this on the documents? They go after me for documents, and then they find out that Joe has 10 times the number of documents than me. I said, you have to be kidding. And they released him. I said, I don't want to be released like that. They released him on the basis that he's incompetent and he can't stand trial. I said, oh, I see. So he can't stand trial, so they're not going to charge him on 50 years worth of classified documents. He's incompetent. He won't have to stand trial, but he's allowed to run for president. So think of that. You have a guy that can't stand trial. He's not allowed to, by the U.S. attorney, the man doing it, Mr. Herr. Now, I've never heard of this before because he wasn't incompetent. He was never smart, but he wasn't incompetent 10, 15, 20. This is 50 years worth of documents. So he got off. In a sense, he got off. I said, I don't want to get off like that. I did nothing wrong. It's Presidential Records Act. I did nothing. We have a deranged individual named Jack Smith. He's a deranged, dumb guy. He's a dumb son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is.
What he did, and I just want to get off normal. Can you imagine, sir, they're exonerating you. They consider you to be incompetent. And therefore, because you're incompetent, they're going to exonerate you. I said, I don't want that. Let me be guilty before they do that. But think of it. They say he's incompetent and therefore he can't stand trial. But he can run for president. And this is what you're voting for. And I never talked about this guy like this. But you watched him yesterday, and he is so bad for this country. They're all laughing. Everyone's laughing at him. The whole world is laughing, except for the fake news back there that try to pretend he did a good job because they're fake and dishonest.
Yeah, they love him. It's their hero. #1 candidate. They hate Trump so much, they're willing to just pick a demented man who has no control or faculties over our government at all to be their hero and savior. So Trump was out yesterday commenting on the classified documents case, and there was another exchange from last week that was involving Merrick Garland, who was asked about this, grilled over the Mar-a-Lago search. This was in Congress when Garland came out to testify about all this. So here's another exchange involving Jack Smith.
Current president.
Was there opposition in the Washington field office seeking a search warrant of Mar-a-Lago?
I'm hoping that there's always discussion in field offices about the appropriate approach.
Who gave the go-ahead to do the search?
I know that the reference to the special agent that was made earlier left out the conclusion of his transcript, which is he thought it was lawful.
Who gave the go-ahead to do the search warrant, to execute the search warrant on Mar-a-Lago?
Magistrate judge in the district.
Bruce Reinhardt.
House. And the Justice Department, as well as between the Congress and the Justice Department, to ensure that political considerations are not taken into consideration.
Yeah, right.
The principal bulwark of the rule of law is the career workforce of the department. The agents and the prosecutors who do their jobs every day with only one purpose.
It's that stupid talking
do the
point.
right thing in every case.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's what they say constantly. The hardworking men and women of the Justice Department. Give me a break. All right, so that's Garland, not answering any questions. The question that we have is, what is the Supreme Court going to say about this? We've got more decisions dropping this week. Immunity, abortion, other things. The clock is ticking on the summer recess. What is SCOTUS going to say about this, my friends? It's going to be very curious, because if SCOTUS comes out and they give us a broad immunity finding, meaning that Trump's force field is very strong and it's very big, then we might lose the Florida case, the January 6th case. You can make the argument that the Fannie case does need to go, at least as relates to Trump. And then you also have, depending on how strong the immunity decision is, you could even theoretically backtrace that all the way back to the New York case, because he signed the checks in 2017 that he paid to Michael Cohen that are the subject of the false business records. So it's a pretty important thing that we're all waiting to see. What does SCOTUS say? SCOTUS and their term is winding down in the middle of a fraught election season. We got some pretty important things coming down the pike. We got presidential immunity is going to be a big one. The largest question is this: two federal cases, the J6 case and the Florida case, hanging in the balance, and the court appeared poised to grant Trump at least a partial victory during oral arguments. And yet we agree with that. We were thinking it's going to be significant. There were many questions there that I think support immunity. The question is, to what extent? There is a force field. How strong is the force field, and how big is it? How expansive is it? Does it cover the whole building, or does it just cover your little head? So we got those coming up. Obstruction is going to be another big one. Court will also rule on whether they can use obstruction to charge January 6 people. Abortion's coming out, emergency abortion, federal agency power, gun rights, all this stuff coming out. And some of those opinions could drop even this week, so time will tell. Now, speaking of the New York case, we had Michael Cohen, who was out there, and he's talking about this retribution. In our next segment, we're going to talk about AOC, who's petrified that Trump might win, and she's onto something because it's looking like he is. Here is Cohen saying, if Trump wins, we're going to get thrown out of windows or something.
First of all of these people, whether it's Marco Rubio, Mike Johnson, Mark Meadows, have all said disparaging things at one point in time about Donald. Ted Cruz, the same thing. They believe that if Donald Trump wins and they are shoulder to shoulder with him, that they will have unlimited power, which would, of course, give them the ability to make or to have unlimited resources and assets. One mistake that they are making, Donald Trump doesn't share. It's all about him, not about his kids, not about his family. It is all about him.
He's running for the country.
They're going to hit.
He's running for president on behalf of the country.
Push themselves to his wagon in hopes that they're going to elevate themselves, whether it's through power, through money.
He's being prosecuted in 4 different jurisdictions. Is that for him? Is that a benefit to him? Is that making him stronger?
With connections and so on. It doesn't work that way. He will not allow them. And just like Putin, once you start to get too big for your own britches, people will start flying out of windows. They will start like Navalny. They will end up in...
They're going to be poisoned.
Gulags. They will end up, as Donald says all the time, send them to Gitmo. Send them to Guantanamo Bay.
And by the way, so he's just going to play patty cake with him again. Wow. Okay, so they brought out Putin. Gitmo, talking about the gulags. He didn't mention the J6ers at all. He didn't mention the multiple political prosecutions that his side is engaged in. Okay, if Putin does political prosecutions, that's great. Trump never did any. He didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. Maybe he should have. He didn't. So very curious how they continue to blame the other side for things that they do. Now, Trump, as we see, is continuing to gain momentum, even in Newport Beach. Here is what Breitbart's reporting for us. Look at this enthusiasm for Trump out there in the state of California. That's a blue state, if we forgot. President Trump greeted by very large crowds, even in Newport Beach, California. There was a rally hosted by John Word, his wife. Tickets were $6,600 a couple, photo $35 grand, and raising $75 grand, $100,000 per person for various events. You can see this is what it looks like out there. No wonder Cohen's upset. No one looks like that for Biden. Looking pretty good. So the energy continues out there. Trump is causing a lot of energy reminiscent of what we saw in 2016. In 2020, they put the boot on everybody's neck with COVID and the fear porn, just that death counter scoreboard every day. They wanted to disincentivize people from going out and campaigning or voting in public. And it may have worked, in addition to all of the other manipulations they created back in 2020. But now we see energy, we see enthusiasm, we see these campaign rallies, we see not even rallies, we see people assembling their boats all over the place. It doesn't surprise me Cohen's freaked out. The other person who is freaked out about this, AOC. And so we're talking about AOC and the rest of the Democrats being worried about going in jail, being thrown in jail if Trump wins. And we'll talk about that in our next segment. We'll see you over there. All right, my friends. So that is a bit of an update on that, but let's just keep this train going because we've got AOC in the house and I see some very nice donos in the house. What's up? We got Ray Rock is here. Good to see you, Ray. I see Joanne sent one in. Voice of the People's here. Good to see you, Ivy. We got over on Locals. What's up, Locals friends? We got Johnny Fives in the house. And why the Rubos are here. Good to see you, Glocky. Amazing. Good to see everybody. I'm glad this is working. So we are assembling this in a hotel room and it's working. All right. Pretty good. Okay, so let's carry on, my friends. Let's see what a reaction to some of this is because AOC is out and we have many others. So let's get to it. AOC and the Democrats are panicking. Some of the polls showing Trump continues to pull away in 2024, and now they're worried that they'll be thrown in jail. They say Trump is going to weaponize our justice system and prosecute his political opponents, and it's amazing that they say this with a straight face because they're doing that right now. They have a bunch of J6ers in custody. They're trying to put Trump in jail. They've already prosecuted other people like Bannon and Navarro, and now they're worried about jail. Why? Is that because they committed actual crimes and they're worried that maybe there will be repercussions coming their way? Probably. But this all got kicked off because of this clip from Trump. He was out speaking and Cooper Anderson brought this up and they're having a meltdown mode over this. Anderson responds to Trump's comments on seeking revenge. So they took this like 6-second clip and Trump's talking about revenge. And by the way, revenge, I think, can be legal. You can have legal political revenge. It doesn't have to be unlawful, and it doesn't have to be illegitimate. Revenge, I think, can be legitimate. You have somebody who comes and you see in the movies, right? You avenge the death of your father, whatever the story is. So that is an interesting dynamic. But they use this word to make it seem like it's illegitimate and like Trump is this dictatorial, tyrannical monster. But here they take this short clip out of context, and then let's break down what's happening because AOC is reacting to this.
Himself.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified, Phil. I have to be honest. Sometimes it can.
Yeah, okay, so 5 seconds. Well, well done. Well done. Thanks for the full clip there, Andy.
To Phil McGraw's attempt to do what Sean Hannity also failed to do.
And then they call him Phil McGraw rather than Dr. Phil, right? Because that's insulting. Phil McGraw. I'm like, who the heck is that person? So it's clearly Dr. Phil.
Do the night before, namely get Donald Trump to stop talking so openly about seeking revenge. It hasn't worked, and just yesterday, the former president also called for members of the House January 6th committee to be indicted.
They should. They should. For conspiracy against rights, destruction of evidence, false business records. How about hit him with that one? Hit him with a RICO charge. Hit him with a classified documents mishandling charge, because evidence is missing. It's destroyed. We don't know where it is. And they made up stories. They colluded. They conspired against rights of many people in this country. So yeah, indict them all. What's the problem?
It appears, to his former strategist, Steve Bannon, being ordered to prison for defying a lawful subpoena.
It was not lawful. Their committee was not even lawfully constituted, Anderson. It was H.R. 503, supposed to be 8 Republicans, 8 Democrats, and 5 Republicans for a total of 13 by their own rules. It's in the document. Read it. It's not a lawful subpoena, but the courts allowed it to happen because Congress, they said, in D.C., can manage their own affairs. But it's not lawful at all, not even by their own rules.
From that committee. The same Steve Bannon who received a presidential pardon while being accused of bilking money from Trump supporters, claiming it would go to build a wall on the border during the final days of the Trump administration. President Biden, by contrast, just reaffirmed a commitment not to pardon his only surviving son, Hunter, who's on trial on gun charges.
It's just pure propaganda. But Biden's not going to do it. It reminds me of that book, Fahrenheit 451. You remember reading that book, and they had those 2 presidential candidates. One of them was called Winston Nobel, I think was the name. And you go, wow, Winston Nobel. He must be very noble, like a noble person. Amazing. And then the other candidate was Humphrey Hogue or something, Hubert Hogue or something. And you're like, Hubert versus Winston, which is a little bit close to Robert, which now I'm just recognizing that. But Hubert, and his last name is Hogue, like a hog. And it was just clearly propaganda that was put on the big TV walls. Remember that book? That's exactly what this is, 100%. Donald Trump's a dictator. Donald Trump is going to murder all of the enemies, but Joe Biden pardons his only son. Is not going to pardon his only son because he's committed to justice. Wild times on CNN. Can't believe anybody actually watches that and considers themselves informed. Now, this is a clip from AOC, and she shared this on this podcast with Kara Swisher. And we'll listen to a little bit of this. It's about 3 minutes, but we'll fast forward. I'll fast forward a little bit of it. So AOC starts talking, then she gets into this little rant about something else, and we'll fast forward to the end. But Kara Swisher wants to know, what's going to happen to you, AOC? When Trump wins, are you going to go into the gulags? What's happening?
Right. So I have 2 more short questions in that context. Trump is now a convicted felon, if you hadn't heard. It's been obviously a boon to his fundraising. There is also a possibility he will win. Mm-hmm. Do you think he has a chance? And then what does that mean for you as a politician and for Democrats if that happens?
Trump does absolutely have a chance to win. That is why I have thrown my support behind Biden early, and I support it vociferously.
She sounds a little nervous,
It is unequivocal that if Donald Trump wins, we are looking at the potential dissolution of democracy in the United States of America. And
the dissolution of democracy in the United States of America. It's like, come on, AOC.
The question about what would happen to me or the Democratic Party is a joke compared to the question of what is going to happen to our country. I don't even think this presidential election is about Republican or Democrat or vote on any one policy or another. This truly is about, are we giving up on democracy? Are we done?
We're done with your version of democracy where all the elections are rigged and it's a one-party state in multiple states. Like California, for example, do you call that a democracy when every single seat is a Democrat? And no matter what happens in the election, a Democrat wins. No matter what. That's not democracy at all. No, we don't want that, where you guys control everything. We're not interested in that.
forever. And I cannot underscore how existential this is.
We're all going to die. Yes, I know.
And I think that if you're in a blue state, what people do not understand is that a national abortion ban predates, it preempts any state level law. If you're in New York and you're California and you think you're sitting pretty because our state laws allow abortion, if a national abortion ban is passed,
that's all they're going to
We're done.
That's it. We're done.
We are done.
We're done.
And
we're done. We're not going to be able to abort our babies anymore. If there's a national abortion ban, she's saying that there would be a supremacy issue and the feds would override all of the states, and then all of the women in this country would be put in hoods and little red dresses or whatever that stupid show is, and just be little baby modules, I guess, or something. I don't know what she's talking about.
I think when it comes to presidential elections, and especially to young people, I understand the lack of support for President Biden.
Yeah.
And I think the demoralization around the president has caused folks to sometimes tune out on down ballot candidates that will actually advance more alignment with their interests. And so the answer here is to get into the game, not to get out of it.
So, very last question.
Okay, here it comes.
What happens to you if Donald Trump
wins?
What do you do? What's your first move?
I mean, it sounds nuts, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy threw me in jail.
Really?
He's out of his mind.
Okay.
I mean, he did his whole first campaign around lock her up. Like, this is his motto.
Yeah, and then he didn't lock her up. He didn't do it. That's the whole point. And then he left office. And you guys said he was a tyrant who was never going to leave. Like, all of these things are little threats in their brains that don't even have a connection to reality at all. Oh, his first campaign was lock her up. Did he do it? Did Hillary Clinton get prosecuted at all? Or did she cry about her election, screaming it was rigged, 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 Russian, Trump's illegitimate? Yes, all of those things happened. Throw you in jail, AOC? What Democrats are sitting in jail because of Trump? Can you name one? We have multiple people, the J6ers, many people who were politically protesting just like the BLMers were, just like the Antifa, actually a lot less violent and more peaceful than they were. And I still have my doubts about the violence in the crowd on that day. Sure, there were a handful of them, but there were dozens of feds from the FBI and the HSI there, not to go on a tangent on J6 here. But political prisoners in our country, we don't have that on the left at all. They all get released and accolades. So it's a delusion in her own brain. And it's wild that even Kara Swisher, this woman was like, she started laughing. Jail? What are you, nuts? Oh, no. Bannon goes to jail. Navarro goes to jail. They liquidate Alex Jones, right? Other people get under the scrutiny of the federal government, and you're in big trouble. Not the Democrats. Give me a break.
Oh, he didn't say that, you know. He said he didn't say that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I take him at his word. I take him at his word. I take him at his word when he says that he's going to round up people. I take him at his word when he threatens journalists. I take him at his word. I feel like what we saw in his first presidency was an amuse-bouche.
No war,
to
secure
what
border,
his intentions are. He has
sound
learned
currency
from his mistakes of appointing professionals, and he will not make that mistake next time.
I hope not. I hope he doesn't. Yeah, there were a lot of mistakes there, like enabling the FBI and the DOJ to do what they did and not making some serious changes there. We got some issues, about some pardons and releasing some evidence and other things. But yeah, we do hope Trump has learned, and hopefully he doesn't work with people like Mark Milley next time. That'd be great. All right, so that's AOC. She's very upset about this, but let me share also what they're talking about on CNN. This is Maggie Haberman, who Trump has actually had a lot of conversations with for whatever reason. She is here over on CNN, and she's petrified, paranoid. She's very concerned that this is going to be the same problem for her that Trump is going to be enacting revenge.
In the past, when he's said it, he's kind of tried to pivot a couple days later, saying, no, the real revenge will be the success of the American people. His advisors have said the same thing. They're not even trying to hedge at this point. Is that fair?
I don't think his advisors, at least some of them, are especially happy with how explicit he's being right now, but explicit he is being, and I think that we have seen for 8 years, people come up with rationalizations for why you shouldn't take him at his word when he's saying what he is going to do. Now, he was prevented from doing what he wanted to do at various points when he was president previously, and he went into office.
Unfortunately,
saying he didn't want to hurt the Clintons anymore, but then within months, he was talking to Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, about reopening an investigation.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Clinton. He wanted John Kerry prosecuted. I mean, he can go down the list. And so he wanted James Comey prosecuted.
Yeah, nothing happened.
There is no reason to think that any of those desires would change. And what he is looking for, and Jonathan Swan, Charlie Savage, and I have written about this, is lawyers who will help him get to a yes on various fronts. In a second administration, he is talking about eroding the post-Watergate norm of Justice Department independence.
Oh, gosh.
I don't see any reason why people would not believe him and his allies when they say this.
Okay, so this is ridiculous. So first of all, I think that might actually be true. Trump could have gone in there and said, yes, what are my options on this? Should I prosecute all these people? And the DOJ comes back and they say, no, sir, look, listen, here's the standard. Okay, we've had 236 years of no prosecutions of political opponents after you win an election. So Trump, well, really, no one? Like, no. Yeah, no, it hasn't happened. We haven't gone down this road. And so even though she's a criminal and a crook and there's other things we should do, maybe let's get rid of Comey, we'll make some other changes, but it's not prudent, it's not wise to shatter that precedent. So sure, yeah, Trump can come in. Yeah, what about Comey? What about Hillary? What about the Bidens? What about Obama? Like, should we just clean house on this? Everyone comes in, says no. And by the way, that's the right answer. Was. But it's not the right answer anymore. At the time, yeah, the right answer. I was fine with that. If Trump won, okay, bygones be bygones. I'd rather not be in a country where we have a cycle of recriminations. I know a lot of people were very excited about that. And I thought during the campaign, it was great. We love to hear Trump. I remember that one debate where Trump was kind of looming around behind Hillary and she just says something and he says, because you'd be in jail. Oh, the crowd went nuts, right? You'd be in jail. And that was just absolutely wild. But then he didn't actually do it. And even there, you're kind of cheering like, yeah, okay. But hopefully we don't actually go down that route because it's going to come back to backfire. It's going to backfire on everybody. But Trump didn't do that. Trump was the person who actually rose above the fray. Whether you love him or hate him, he didn't do it. They're saying he could have, wanted to maybe, but didn't. But now they broke the seal. Now there's a new set of rules. Now Trump can go to his DOJ and say, historically, yeah, you wouldn't have prosecuted these things. But I got prosecuted for false business records. So everybody who ever falsified a business or government record, anything's missing, anybody has a classified document problem. I want to know if Liz Cheney has classified documents. I want to know if Benny Thompson has classified documents. All of them. Let's go investigate them. It's perfectly reasonable because that's the new standard now. We have a classified documents problem according to the DOJ, so we better go fix that problem and go investigate everybody. And now the prudent people, the people who had an affinity for the precedent in American jurisprudence, now they have no excuse. The standard is new. So it's totally appropriate. Trump should go and prosecute all these people, quite frankly. Why? Because our side is being prosecuted. Steve Bannon has been ordered to prison by another D.C. judge. Here is James Trusty talking, who's a former Trump lawyer, talking about how this might work when Bannon reports and whether there will be a possibility of appeal.
Sarah Murray, report that a judge has ordered Bannon to report to prison by July 1st for a 4-month prison sentence. What's your reaction in general?
I mean, not surprised. I heard her say that the defense team was surprised. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Maybe they at least said they were surprised. But look, there's a lot of statutory and case law overlap that basically talks about staying a sentence and keeping a person out of jail while they are pending appeal. It's very uphill. And you have to basically convince the sentencing judge that there's a serious error that they're likely to win on appeal. The D.C. Court of Appeals just shut that down. The history of these contempt cases with the Supreme Court's not particularly favorable for Bannon either. So that all kind of conspires to make it a pretty easy legal ruling that he's not going to be able to stay out anymore. I agree completely with that. It's terrible. It's D.C. If this was any other jurisdiction, we wouldn't be here.
but it's DC. And we have AOC and other people saying that this is normal, appropriate, and that Maggie Haberman whining and crying about the independence of the justice system. Are they nuts? No, they know exactly what they're doing, but it's a facade. It's weird that they even are satisfied with themselves. Like at the end of the day, they go home and they say, we've done a great job today defending our independent justice system. It's like everyone around the kitchen table, like mom comes home and tells that to everybody. Is everybody like the kids like laughing at her? Like, does she even know what she's saying? It's not true. All right, so here is Kristi Noem. She is still out there, man. A lot of fight in this dog. She just keeps going and going and going, and no one is going to stop her. She wants to be the vice presidential candidate. No one's going to put her down at all. So here she is explaining that Trump is not going to be enacting political revenge on his opponents and stop being ridiculous, which I agree with that message. It is ridiculous. Here she is.
Here with me.
Can you hear? We got some Vegas sirens in the background. I think they're a little quiet. Don't think we can hear them, but they're out there. That's how we know we're in Vegas.
Now from Wisconsin, where she is campaigning for Donald Trump, is South Dakota Republican Governor Kristi Noem. Thank you so much for being here, Governor. I want to start with what we've heard a lot of from the former president since he was found guilty in his New York hush money trial. And that is repeatedly suggesting that he would prosecute his political opponents if he is elected. Listen to part of what he said.
It's a terrible precedent for our country. Does that mean the next president does it to them? That's really the question. And it's very possible that it's going to happen to them.
Based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them. Revenge does take time, I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified.
Governor, is that the message you think Donald Trump should be focusing on in this campaign right now?
Well, his message has clearly been that his only vengeance will be America's success. He is not interested in going after political opponents. He is interested in going back to the White House and working for the American people and their families, bringing down inflation costs. And that's what I'm hearing overwhelmingly here in Wisconsin, is that this swing state is so important. And these people here, their number one issue right now is not that sham trial and not the verdict and the convictions and not what's going on as far as what a lot of people are talking about in the media. They care about what's happening to their families, how much grocery prices have gone up, how much better their lives were 4 years ago. So that's really their number one concern.
Yeah, I mean, it seems clear what you're hearing from voters, that is what their concern is. But it is what we heard from Donald Trump this week over and over in interview after interview, that he is considering going after his political opponents.
Yeah, for breaking the law.
Should he stop doing that, given what you just said you're hearing from voters?
No, if they broke the law, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. No one's above the law.
The American people, if we start weaponizing the judicial system like they did against him, that it could happen to any president. It could happen to any political opponent. What he's talking about when he's having those discussions is that be careful what you do, because that opens the door in the future to anybody doing it. And that's what he's trying to shut down. He wants people to trust our judicial system. He wants to make sure that we still have law and order in this country. If you look at conservative areas of this country, places where...
Yeah, and one way you do that is by rooting out the bad actors in the system. You have to get rid of them because they are perverting the system. The people who are the unjust cannot be in charge of justice. They have to go. So, and they have to be prosecuted for violating their public oaths and their duty of loyalty to the people. It's time for them to go. And the way that you do that is the people get to vote and get to veto the current process of what's happening in our justice system. We don't like it. We want to extricate those people from it. We do that through the power of the vote. We create an environment that's too big to rig. We have a resounding exit of these people. Trump comes in and he's got a mandate with legitimacy and credibility to go after the people who perverted the system in the first place. So that needs to happen. It's going to happen. The people are sick of these weaponized prosecutions, and the plan is emerging forward.
We're in control. We have law and order. We have peace and stability. You go to Democrat states and cities, that's where you see destruction, and you see judicial systems and trials and corrupt judges that prosecute their political enemies. That's what New York was. New York, that was definitely a rigged election or a rigged judicial process against the president.
Yeah, right on.
Politically motivated.
Well, he was found guilty based on a jury, 12 members of the 12 peers.
Spit it out. Spit it out. Gosh. Well, he was okay. Gosh, God, what do they pay these people on CNN, for crying out loud? Oh, so that's all they have. He was convicted by a jury of his peers. They're going to have the stupid talking points like fifth graders. It's just amazing. All right, so that is AOC and the rest of the left melting down. The meltdowns will continue because the MAGA momentum continues to rise. And that's why there's a little bit of panic in the voice. AOC in that first clip was a little bit quaky. Do you think Trump can win? Oh, maybe. I sure hope not, because I'll be thrown in jail. Why would you be thrown in jail if you're a law-abiding citizen, right? No one's above the law here, so hopefully you are prepared for repercussions for your actions this time and moving forward. And this should also be a good warning to the rest of the people out there who are considering violating the laws again like they did in 2020. Trump might win this time. And if he does, the investigations will happen the other way, as they should. That's the new state of America. We didn't create it. They broke glass in case of emergency. We're just here cleaning it up. So we'll continue to cover this, my friends, wherever you're watching it. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking this video. Thanks for sharing our channel with a friend or family member. We got election news, Trump litigation, and much more here on this channel coming up as the season unfolds. We'd love to have you here and join us, especially join us in our next segment, which is where we're going to be talking about Joe Biden and the Biden family snubbing Hunter's baby, Joe's grandbaby. Totally ignored by the Biden family because they're kind of garbage people. We'll talk about that in the next segment. We'll see you over there. All right, my friends. And so let's just get over to that one. Let me queue up those stories here so that we can just get right into it on this beautiful Monday. And I hope your day is unfolding very nicely. It's a nice day here in Vegas. You heard some of the Vegas leaf blower guys. Funny comment on that one. They don't sound like leaf blowers. They sound like police sirens, just a little bit different. And we love all of our friends out there. All right, so let's get into it because we've got some Biden news starting now. The Biden family's getting roasted for ignoring Joe Biden's granddaughter. That's Hunter Biden's baby from Hunter Biden's baby mama, who nobody really acknowledges anymore. Story is, she's now speaking to the public. She was out on with Piers Morgan, and this is the woman we're talking about here. Lunden Roberts is her name, and you can see here she was with Piers Morgan. And we'll just hit some of the highlights from their interview. But they tell us that Lunden is the mother of the 5-year-old, this young gal you see here. That's Hunter's baby. She's 33 years old. She spoke with Piers Morgan. Now, Hunty, 54, he is initially refused to acknowledge the existence of her. And there was litigation over this. He said, not my kid. Turns out, yeah, it is. And she was born in 2018, and this is the subject of the trial. This is when he bought the gun, and he was apparently on crack cocaine, is what the evidence is showing, and a lot of it. So he also impregnated this woman, and while Roberts said Hunter and the child have been, quote, building a relationship on Zoom, so Hunter and this little girl are talking now, guess who's not talking? The rest of the Bidens. No one else in the Biden family, including Joe, have even personally met the little girl. And there's no Christmas stockings up for her either that we saw one year. Now, she described the complicated relationship with the troubled first son. She said she was hurt in 2019 because he denied ever sleeping with her. She says, I can remember just reading it and not having any words. Terrible. Roberts admitted she had suicidal thoughts after learning she was pregnant, all the drama. She described her pregnancy as one of the loneliest times in my life. Her relationship with Hunter ended after she told him she was pregnant. I went through some dark times. He didn't care. I knew that as long as I was pregnant, I wasn't going to do anything to myself because that would harm my kid. She was placed on Biden's Scion company payroll for 9 months during an affair conducted while Hunter was also in a relationship with his widowed sister-in-law, Hallie, who also testified at the trial. Wow. And so in his memoir, Hunter said that he had no recollection of our encounter. She was fascinated with him, said he had a demon on his back. He was recovering from addiction and other things. And so she's writing a book, and now she's getting out there and talking about this. But the Bidens ignoring the little girl. And what's this photo? Oh, Hunter's other son, Beau. Young son, Beau, is often effusive about his many other grandchildren, but not little Navy. Terrible. All right, so the point is, Hunter might actually, I was going to give Hunter the benefit of the doubt. And I was going to say, well, Hunter maybe doesn't want his dad sniffing his kids, which would be reasonable. It's like, why would you introduce Joe to your little girl? You wouldn't do that unless you're just terrible, because he's going to sniff the crap out of those kids. And Hunter knows that because he's already showered with Ashley and he's already done other things, and he sniffs everybody. So you might say he wants to keep the sniffing at bay. But then we come across a photo like this, and clearly that's not a concern. Joe's definitely going to be sniffing those kids. So troubling indeed out there. The other concern is that Joe Biden just doesn't really know anything. We don't really know if he's intentionally avoiding that grandkid, or if he just doesn't know even that there is a grandkid that even exists in the first place. Here's Joe when he was out over the weekend, lost his way on a stage for 30 seconds. Here's our president.
Mr. President, thank you. At the end of such a momentous event, the word thank you seems kind of inadequate, but for all the millions whose lives will be saved, for the communities where life will be transformed, thank you.
Even the cameraman doesn't know what the heck is going on. That's our president, leader of the free world. And if you're worried that maybe Joe Biden is not fully there, that his faculties are not capable of leading our country through these trying times, it's starting to sound like Joe here. Oh, gosh. We have second in command, Kamala, who's going to save us with her leadership. Here's what she sounds like.
President Biden and I have been working every day to bring this conflict. I'm speaking right now, and I value and respect your voice, but I'm speaking right now. We have been working every day to bring this conflict to an end.
All right, so she seemed agitated. You see those facial muscles on her face? They're right there. Ooh, man, she's mad right there. Right. Yeah, right there. Look at that vein. Ah! Yeah, she's mad. Right there too. Oh man, she's mad. She's furious. How dare, maybe she didn't have her drinks this morning. I don't know. But that was, not happy about that. You could see she's flared up in her eyeballs. Hilarious. All right, so that's Kamala. We also have reaction. There's protests all over the place. They were outside the White House, and MSNBC is asking some Biden campaign advisors about this. What are you guys doing about this? It feels like a lot of people are upset with you. Do you have a plan?
So while the president was in France yesterday, thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters rallied outside the White House, urging the president to halt military aid to Israel and calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. How are these persistent protests weighing on the campaign?
Well, first of all, President Biden certainly, unlike President Trump, supports the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression. So obviously these protesters are exercising their right, and that is their right to do. That being said, we certainly understand that it's a challenge. President Biden is certainly fighting for every vote. He's not taking anything for granted. But look, this is the freedom that people have. Going back to the message of freedom, they have the right to protest. They have the right to speak their mind. He's not going to take anything for granted. And I think it's also important to really keep in mind, Jonathan, during these challenging times on the foreign policy front, on the global front. Can you imagine having Donald Trump back in the White House trying to manage all of this? I mean, President Biden is a seasoned foreign policy pro. He served, of course, as the chair on the Senate Foreign Relations.
What? He's a seasoned foreign policy pro. Is that why we're in multiple new conflicts? We're in literally 2 new wars called Gaza and Ukraine. And it looks like Taiwan's going to pop off any minute now. And we have a new front on our southern border that we're being invaded by other foreigners to the tune of thousands a day. Yeah, all great leadership. They're still going to try this. This worked in 2020 because Joe hadn't wrecked the world yet, but now he's wrecked it, and we can tell.
Relations Committee for a long time. He has these relationships with world leaders that go very, very deep. So we're going to be reinforcing the fact that that's an important attribute that the president has, going over the next 5 months. But at the same time, we're going to be working hard for every single vote.
Wow, terrible. So they don't have no idea what they're talking about. They're going back to old foreign policy stuff. I don't know if that's going to work out so well for them. There's concern that Joe is a terrible candidate. Carville is out, and I don't know if he dropped any profanity on this one. He tends to do that, so we'll be forewarned. But he says Joe shouldn't have even been nominated for re-election. We have other people like Hakeem who are way better than Joe. Here's Carville.
But the 90s were then, and this is where we are now. And we have a choice to make in November, and it isn't a choice that I was crazy about. I actually was very public that I thought that President Biden should not run for re-election, but he did, and it's him and Trump, and that's where I am. And
if anything, if President Biden decides not to run or is ill and can't run, where does the Democratic Party go?
There's so much talent, and a lot of it is young and vigorous and energetic. I think Hakeem Jeffries is doing a great job as leader, much more to the far. But I thought that President Biden should consider not running for the election, but that's not the choice that he made. And so I gotta live in the world that I've got to live in, not the world I wanted to live in.
All right, so yeah, this is the new reality, and he sounds totally depressed. We've been watching him multiple times here over the last couple weeks, couple months. He's getting more and more depressed by the day. He's got a real, talk about existential crisis, AOC. Seriously, this guy doesn't even know what his existence has been about. 80 years fighting for this Democratic cause, and now it's coming apart at the seams, and Trump is going to be swept back into power. Oh, just brutal. Could you imagine your whole life is based around stopping someone like Trump, and in your twilight years, you then have Trump win again? Oh, brutal. I love it. Can't wait. So we have that. And further, we had this exchange with Comer in Congress getting asked about, we now have criminal referrals over for Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. I'm sorry, for Hunter Biden and James Biden. But what about Joe Biden? Are we going to get any criminal referrals for him? Here's what Comer was asked about, and here what he said.
Are you saying that we could expect a criminal referral against Joe Biden for money laundering? Is that what you just said?
Well, I think that it's no secret Joe Biden's committed many crimes, and I think that you're going to see a report very soon. That report is imminent. That'll probably be an interim report that updates everyone on the crimes that Biden and his administration have committed throughout this investigation and through the years of the Obama-Biden administration.
Well, you have subpoena power. Why not subpoena these people as well? Put them in the hot seat.
Well, We've subpoenaed all the associates. The only person we haven't talked to is Joe Biden. As you know, it's hard to subpoena a sitting president, or the Democrats would have done that to Donald Trump. But I think that what we've done in all of our depositions and interviews has been very substantive, and it's going to be very useful in accountability.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, so they're playing that music as they're trying to kick him off of there. Maybe some criminal referrals for Joe. Question is, will the government do anything about the criminal referrals that are even coming their way? Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, seems only interested in prosecuting one side of the country. That's the MAGA side, the extreme MAGA. Anybody who's not really a lefty comes under scrutiny of our federal government. So will Merrick Garland accept those referrals from Congress and do something with them? Unlikely, but the double standard will continue to reveal itself. We'll continue to cover it, my friends. So thank you for joining us as we cover this, the election, 2024 litigation, and much more. We appreciate you subscribing on our channel, wherever you're watching us. Thank you for liking this video. And thanks for inviting someone you know or love to come over here and check out some of the work we're doing, because it really helps us grow. It's a great way for us to reach new people when these platforms don't help us do that. And we appreciate it very much. So we'll see you on our next segment, which is going to be a great video. If you loved this one, you'll love that one. So check it out. We'll see you over there. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We covered 3 good grounds, including prison officials who have now been preparing to send Trump to jail. We'll see if that ultimately happens. AOC's panicked. Lefties are panicked. And Biden family's getting roasted for abandoning Hunter's daughter. And now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. We got a special Vegas edition of the stream today. So the rest of the day, we have an afternoon event. So my plan is to wrap up here, check out. We're going to hit an afternoon event on the way home, and then I'm back to Arizona. And tomorrow will be the regular schedule again when we're back home. So thanks for indulging in the time change, but I'm glad we got to spend some time together this morning before we wrap it up on the day. Let's see who is here on the house, and the question is, how can I share any of these comments? That's going to be the question of the day. So let's see if I can figure this out. We have, so let's do it this way. Let's see, we got some great comments, my friends. Thanks for sending all of these in. All right. So today, let's see. No, I don't think I can do it this way. All right, so Carrie B is clipping for us, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually pull these up. Carrie B, thank you for doing that, though. Let me see if this will work. This is our first attempt at sharing this way. So let me see if I can do this. Yeah, let's not do it that way. Okay, so I'm just going to read some of these comments, my friends, and then we'll figure out how to put them on the screen later, because I don't know how to do that right now. But we've got some great stuff coming in. So I want to thank everybody for sending this stuff in. Carrie B, thank you for clipping for us. And let's see what's happening today. All right, my low phone bill is, well, let me see. All right, hang on a second. This I can do this way. So let's try it this way. We'll work these kinks out. We'll figure it out. All right, so we got some donos in the house. What's up? Ray Ronk is here. He says, I have buddies who work in the U.S. prison system, and President Trump will be protected by the prisoners themselves. Good to see you, Ray. Thanks for that one. Hopefully he doesn't ever go into prison, and that works. Good to see you, though, Ray. Thanks for that one. We got Joanne. What's up, Joanne? Became a new YouTube member. Thank you, Joanne, for supporting us on the tubes. We'll see you tomorrow on our members-only morning stream. We got this one from Joanne. What's up, Joanne? Well, hey, Voice of the People's here. And Voice of the People brought in 20 new membos in the house. And let's see who these membos are. We got J.R. Williams is here. Chrissy's coming in. Heath W. Sarah B. Mike Jones is coming in. High Flight, Jerry L. What's up, Jerry L? Welcome. John Sparrow, Nurple's here. June L. Jess A. Theory. We got Veg Scrog, Douglas D, and Kiki Lee. Hey, what's up? Ron Hastings and Raul are all coming in, courtesy of Voice of the People, gifted membos by Voice of the People. Great to see you, Voice. We got Ivy's in the house as a new membo. Welcome aboard, Ivy. We'll see you on the membos only streams. And there's some other good content. I made a video of a train in Kingman that we just posted for our membos. That was a fun video. If you're interested in trains, check that out. Went inside this cool train built in 1927. Top speed, 100 miles per hour. It was fun. Very cool. So check that one out. What's up? Thank you, Ivy. Mark B is bringing in new membos. What's up? Mark B is bringing in Scott W. We got Spitfires in the house. L's coming in. Kyle L. and Patty G. All coming in. Woo Lad, Donna the Walkers, Lisa G, Stop It, and Mark S. All coming in. Courtesy of Mark B. What's up, Mark B? Thank you for that. And Carrie B, thank you for clipping those so I can read those off. Very helpful. I appreciate that. And Mark, thanks for the new membos. 10 new membos. Welcome aboard, courtesy of Mark B. Great to have you. We got Matthew H, membo for 5 months. That's over halfway to a baby. Good to see you, Matthew. Thanks for being here, my man. Over halfway to a baby. It's been wild. We got this one from Ken. What's up, Ken? No question on that one, Ken, but thank you for the nice dono. As a super sticker came in. We appreciate you being here and supporting us. We got this one. Repo Man says, love President Trump, the watchers, and you, Rob. Oh, Repo Man. I feel the same about you. I love you back. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Hopefully your week is off to an amazing start. It's going to be a good one. Good to see you, Mark B. Mark B. Membo for 6 months says, I wish he would round them up, but we know that he won't. Yeah, talking about prosecuting all of the criminals who exist in our justice system. I have the same instinct as well, Mark. I don't know. Trump is being prosecuted by 4 different entities, 4 different jurisdictions criminally, but all of the other lawfare on top of that. And for some reason, I still have my doubts that he understands the seriousness of what the FBI and the DOJ is trying to do to him. I don't know. He has to get it. I don't know. Maybe there's something else we're missing here, but it's bad. And when I hear him say things like, we're going to build him a new building in Washington, I think to myself, they're just going to get more money and more funding and nothing's going to change. And it makes me concerned. Like, it really does. Because it's so corroded. I don't know how you just make some top level changes and save the entity. I don't know. But maybe Trump does. What's up, Kimmy Joe? Good to see you in the house. What's up, Kimmy Joe? Rob, did you listen to the recordings of Paula Collins saying that MAGA people need to be put in re-education camps? No, but I think I know what you're talking about. Didn't a couple people say that? I thought some other congressperson said that. I remember the headline. I think I bookmarked that, and I probably intended to play that here today on the show or at some point. That might come back in, but I don't remember actually listening to it, but I saw it for sure. Thank you for that one, Kimmy Joe. Good flag. Hey, what's up, JC? Good to see you, JC. Says AOC is guilty of sedition, as is most of Congress. Yeah, you could say that there's a seditious conspiracy, to rig an election. They all orchestrated the J6 propaganda campaign. They made up a bunch of stuff, like literally made up evidence with Cassidy Hutchinson and others. So, yeah, seditious conspiracy to steal an election away from a lawful elector. Look. You could charge them with whatever the hell you want. Doesn't matter, because they charged Trump with made up nonsense. So just make it up. Doesn't even matter. Whatever you want. It's post-law America. And I'm not happy about that. But we didn't put us in this position. Now we have to just pick up the same tools that they used and get back into it. All right, good to see you. What's up, JC? Hey, Jennifer. What's up, Jennifer? Says, another great show today, Rob. Thank you for all your hard work, bringing us the news of the day. You're very much appreciated. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, and I appreciate you joining us as we travel around and try to figure out how to take some of this stuff on the road with us and try to still stay on top of the news, on top of the other activities. It's fun. I've learned a lot. And every time I travel and try to do a stream, my system gets a little bit better. So I have a lot less gear, a lot more simplicity, a lot easier to set it up, because I hate missing the stream even when I'm traveling. So we want to make sure we can keep that as close to consistent as possible. So thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for being here. Great comment. And thanks for always being so supportive. We got, what's up? Curb is here. Curb bringing this one in. KLRB, new membo in the house. We got Funny Heart, also a new membo. Welcome aboard, Funny Heart. Great to have you. And this one, Dolphin Fan, is the man bringing in new membos. And let's see who some of these new membos are. What's up? We got Marion G coming in. We got Gypsy Moon. Dixie Dogs is here. Limited State, good name. Tornado S and Thad the Man. Warren M all coming in, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in Irene OB and Jana Q in the house. Dolphin Fan is the man. And once again, K Bean, thank you for clipping those for us today. We got Carrie B and K Bean clipping for us, man. You guys are great. All right, so awesome stuff. That's K Bean clipping on the tubes. K Bean's clipping on the tubes for us. Thank you, K Bean. I appreciate you. All right, so we've got this one from Muffin Rando. Says, welcome. We Lomph from Muffin Rando. 1 more month till a baby. So we are incubating. Muffins about to pop, man, any day. Hey, what's up, Cheryl? Do you think the upcoming SCOTUS immunity decision will reference the New York verdict? It makes Trump's point about lawfare and presidential immunity. That's a great question. I think, Yeah, it might make sense that they reference it, even just as a footnote, just to say, yeah, currently Trump is facing, currently he's facing 4 criminal prosecutions, one of which is New York. I don't know that the verdict will be targeted at New York. It might cover New York, but I think there's probably a high likelihood that it would at least reference it because they're talking about Trump and criminal prosecutions. And I think somebody will make the point that the floodgates have now opened. So that makes sense. Makes sense. Good to see you, Cheryl. Thanks for that one. Very nice comment. And we'll see. We're waiting any day now for that one. Tony, hey, what's up? Hey, 5 new membos. Tony, hey, thanks for those. And K Beans flagging this one. What's up? Bringing this one. Who's coming in? Lawrence K. Miss Ellie's here. Lance Uppercut. Sophia H. And LaDonna. LaDonna A. coming in, courtesy of Tony Haymunkets. New membos in the house. And we are grateful for you bringing those in. Okay, and so now let's see. I think the best way for me to do this is to share a tab. So sharing a screen is a little bit wonked out. So let me see if I can share this tab and we can say what's up to locals. There, that is working. All right, so what's up locals? Let's see who is joining us. Let's see what some of these comments look like. Hey, what's up? Glocky's in the house. So Glocky shared this one. He says, nope, over here. He says, these are the same judges that want to jail you for not believing their fascist ideology, their stolen elections, or their general BS. Says, let me just try to enhance that. A judge is asking the mother about their jab, and then custody battle ensued. Londo says, Mercan is behaving like middle management in a drug cartel. Glocky says, you're watching a real-time political earthquake in Europe. The lefties, Democrats freaking out along with their media. And their media. Europe's had enough of Democrat left-wing politicians and their policies. Europe is getting itself an identity back of the elections this weekend to have the Democrats here shaken to their core. Glocky sharing this one. Image of a domestic terrorist at work. You see what this looks like. Absolutely terrifying. Unbelievable. End of America right there. Johnny 5, what's the probability that Mercan sets aside the jury's conviction, sets up a new trial because of a juror dust-up? I'd say 0. If they did that, they could tie Trump up for another 6 to 8 weeks and keep him off the campaign trail. Well, that could happen anyways. What if the jury is hung? If the jury comes back out... I'm sorry, wait a minute. Yeah, I was thinking about the Hunter case. I thought you were talking about Hunter. We're not there yet. This is... yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. I think basically 0. They got 34 convictions. The judge is not setting that aside to try to do it again. But he could also keep him off the campaign trail via sentencing, I think. That's the home detention point. So he is, in custody, incarcerated via home detention, but he still gets work release to go campaign. Glocky says, realize where we are with the criminal justice system in America and why the FBI went out of their way to recruit the LGBTQ expialidocious people into their ranks. Glocky says, more than enough to not just swing of federal elections, but also state elections, talking about immigration. NY says, the most down-to-earth analogy I can give this whole Trump lawfare up to the conviction. The far left cheat at Monopoly. We all can remember in life how he socially treated people who cheat at Monopoly. They're the worst. Cheaters are the worst. The worst. Glocky says, guess who else she was giving money to? The big old Fanny, Fulton County, is corrupt beyond belief. NY says, 18 U.S. Code 242 makes it a federal crime for anyone acting under color of law to willfully deprive a person of rights protected by the Constitution. Democrats involved in the charade should get ready for Civil War law. No one is above the law. Rubos, a little video we put together about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell and the 51 intelligence agents that signed the hoax document. It's restricted in some territories due to 2 songs. Okay, so amazing. So the Rubos, I will not play that here today because of that. It'll flag the whole stream. But let's share that in the chat. Let's share that link in the chat. And my friends, the Rubos, looks like they have this video. Let me stop that. Yeah, so check out the Rubos channel. The Rubos are amazing people. And so here's this video on their channel. Donald and Sherilyn Rubo So check it out. Check out that channel. Search for that. And we'll share the link in the chat. And it looks like a great 3-minute video, Spies Who Lie. And it's going to be great because the Rubos are great. So check that out. We'll share that link in the chat. And let me see. I think I might even be able to do that. No, that's not how that worked. All right, so let me do it this way. Share that. Okay, so that should be going out to hopefully all the chats. All right, the Rubos in the house. All right, let's see what else we've got. My friends, thank you for these great comments. We got NY says, Garland claims executive privilege, but the federal case law on point says the tapes must be released to Congress. In that famous case, A.G. Mitchell hid Nixon's tapes, and the court said any privileges waived because the transcript was changed. Garland admitted the DOJ altered the transcript. It's clear as day, and Garland has a lot of criminal exposure here. Bodie says, have you seen the new Biden ad? It's so disgusting. All lies. That should be illegal. No, I've not seen it. I'm sure that's accurate, though. NY says, Democrats, unless you vote for me or vote for my platform, you're a fascist and against democracy. It gets so old. Bodie says, Trump needs to reference Putin and Navalny more. Rubo say, we're not a democracy, thank God. We're a constitutional republic because democracy is mob rule. Exactly right. Tyranny of the majority, as Alexis de Tocqueville observed back in the 1800s. Spud said, Rob, Sandy Cortez is also afraid of what she saw at Trump's rally in the Bronx. Her rival, Tina Forte, was endorsed by Trump and getting a lot of steam with minorities and could make Sandy Cortez unemployed. Oh, man, that'd be terrible for her. Tobo says, I think Trump wanted to have more investigation, but Jeff Sessions shirked his duty, and Bill Barr after that. Barr made no effort to oversee the 2020 election. He got a report from one of the bad guys in the FBI and was satisfied. I hope they both realize that he made big mistakes. Yeah, good comment. This one from Glocky says they're doing everything they can to cover for Biden. And the fact that he is paying terrorists every week, how many of you know that your tax dollars are being sent over to the Taliban every week? A lot of money. NY says Garland tore up all the DOJ rules during the election. It was interpreted so favorably to Biden, it was extended to his son. Mega hypocrisy. Neuro says, boost the audio on the clips, Rob. Hard to hear. NY says, thank you, Neuro. NY says, Trump says it's a rhetorical question. Despite their clipping, the intent comes through. History is written by the victors. We have a job to do to make sure the truth is written in history. Says, anyone notice the so-called Biden event over the weekend where he started babbling for seconds? I think it was near Baltimore. The high school gym was half filled. Energizing. This old guy says, I'd be in total fear for my child's life and limb if Joe was the grandfather and picked up my child in the air like that. Yeah, and who knows how old that photo was, but Joe, could he do that? Could he even lift his arms over his head right now without falling over? I don't know. Good to see you, this old guy. NY says, here's a recent gaffe stream, Hugh Hewitt. And MAGA Hat says they won't replace Biden because any other candidate career would end after losing to Trump. They will let Biden take the hit. So Biden will be the fall guy. They'll just boot him out of there. And then hand it off to Trump for 4 years, knowing that they can come back in 4 years and try to reclaim victory. Time will tell, my friends. It's going to be a very interesting next couple months, and the clock is ticking. We've got RNC coming up. We've got sentencing coming up. We're going to have a Hunter verdict. They just rested today. Then we'll have the debates coming up. We've got June 27th, the first debate. That's just a couple weeks away. We have our Watcher Meetup, Vegas. Speaking of that, check it out, my friends. Come and join us at watcherlodge.com for the Vegas meetup. You can grab a ticket. They're $100. It's going to cover all the food. We're going to hang out. It's going to be a soft start, 12 to 1. Then at 1, we'll have lunch. We'll mix and mingle. We'll debrief the debate. We've got some introduction exercises. We're going to meet a bunch of people. Hopefully, we can geographically connect. We'll put people in different regions so we can stay plugged in and connected to each other. Create your profile on the lodge so people can do business and interact. We're building it, baby. So come check it out. Watcherlodge.com, June 27th, June 29th. Sorry. Check the dates. The debate's the 27th. And so watcherlodge.com, Trump Hotel, Las Vegas. It's going to be amazing. All right. And so, my friends, Thank you so much for joining us on this day. We had a couple other donos come in. Cheryl, good to see you. Sliding Edge sent this one. Says, what's the process of having upper management of 3-letter agencies to step down, and where would we pull from to replace them? Any repercussions also high? Well, I think the idea is what is the FBI doing? What do you need them to do? Can you delegate that to another agency? Number one, we have so many law enforcement agencies. Why do they have parallel duties? So can you consolidate those? And can you redelegate a lot of those responsibilities back to the states so that the states are in control of their own governance and you don't have this overarching federal police force that is now ransacking and raiding people's homes, including the president? So I think a lot of our law enforcement is unnecessary, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's just a giant facade, just like everything else. It's no different than basically everything else. Do we really need all of the Department of Education? Probably not. Do we really need all of the, Department of Energy? Is it as big as it, does it have to be that big? Probably not. I think most of our functional institutions can be cut dramatically. And I mean, I don't know. Like, what did Elon do with X? Like 90%? That's a good start. Probably a good start. And I think the country would be fine as a result. They'd all act like they'd melt down, and there'd be a bunch of other people who'd have to go find other jobs, but the government is not, it doesn't produce anything. It's just a giant bureaucracy that just consumes and taxes and enslaves. And we're sick of it. What's up, Sliding Edge? Thank you for the dono. Hey, Jesusa Gonzalez also in the house, sending in a nice tip. Thank you for that, Jesusa. Hey, what's up, Deplorables in the house? Says, oh, Karen E. talking about the train. Rob, I loved how kind you were to the kids on the scooters. They were cool kids, man. Did you see him do that 180? Karen's talking about the Trump train. The train. I was on a train I walked around the inside of this old 1970, 1927 train for our membos. Yeah, Rubio for VP doesn't sound fun. No doubt. We got this one from Fred Clayton. Says, why can we not hire you to go after these criminals? Well, I mean, I'm not a prosecutor. So you really need to be a prosecutor to prosecute crimes. Otherwise, you're just filing civil lawsuits or notices of claims with the government, and then the government wins those. You don't recover anything, and they have qualified immunity, and they just stay in power anyways. So even if you were to give me $100 million or something like that, there's only so much power that a civilian has. You really have to win a position of power, become elected as an attorney general or a county prosecutor, or win the presidency. So Trump is doing that. I mean, if Trump wanted me to become the attorney general, I'd have to serve. I'd have to think about that one. So maybe that'll happen. We'll see. Good to see you, Fred. Thanks for the encouragement and the enthusiasm on that. Hey, what's up, ELZ? Happy Monday, Rob. Looking forward to another week of big, beautiful spotlight enlightenment with the beautiful family that we've all created here. And please watch your muscle memory when you do your BBS tilt back on this unqualified chair. Yeah, we're going to do that here in a minute. And hopefully I don't end up in the hospital, okay? So we're going to check it out. Good to see you, ELZ. Thanks for the reminder. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, this chair. It's untested. Spud says, Rob, the revenge Trump could have is that people like AOC, Jeffries, and others actually lose their districts this election and be personally held accountable for violating their oaths of office. There will be no place to hide. Yeah, that would also be great, right? The people can just speak. Like, it's the same thing. If the people think Trump is an insurrectionist, they're not going to vote for him. If they think he's a criminal monster, they're not going to vote for him. We'll see if they do. And if they do vote for him, maybe that's a veto on the justice system's label that he is a felon. No, we vetoed that. We don't think he is a felon. That's vetoed by the people. Sorry. I think that's where we're going. Indeed, indeed. Hey, Birdwatcher says Robert is now mobile watching. That's right. We're mobile now, baby. And I'm trying to get better at this because obviously we're coming back to Vegas in a couple weeks, and then I've got another event, and then we're getting out of here for the summer. So we're taking the show on the road for sure because we want to get out there a bit more and interface with people. And your boy wants to get out, start doing some more interviews, start mixing it up, getting out there in the arena of ideas because it's election season. We got to get out there. What's up? NY says Dems are starting to crack on how wise the decision was to go full lawfare against Trump. They are like the kid that cheated at Monopoly, who then cried to mommy when they got caught that they would get schoolyard justice for cheating. Yeah, cheaters, bullies, and liars. They're some of the worst. They are the worst people. Everybody dislikes those people. You ever have someone cheat you in life or lie to you in life or a bully in your life? The worst. That's like the whole Democrats team. They're just using lawfare and the government to do it. Good to see you, MAGA hat. Amazing comments, amazing donos, my friends. So, all right, so let us leave it there on the day. What's up, Jonathan? Says, what's up with these Dems and the crazy eyebrows? Well, we got a Nancy Pelosi eyebrow problem. We were trying to sort through that, I think, on locals. She's got multiple layers. So, like, Pelosi, I think she had eyebrows up here. And then I was wondering if this crevice in your eye, like if that was also an eyebrow, but I don't think it was. I think we identified that as a crevice. So it's like eyebrow, and then they drew on an eyebrow here, but it looked like it was up here. Maybe they drew an eyebrow on up here. I don't know. It looked like 3 eyebrows, but one of them was clearly a eye flap. The other was probably an actual eyebrow. Then the other one was the drawn on eyebrow. Very complicated. Hard to keep track of them, especially on Pelosi's head, because they keep stretching it back every couple of years. They just keep pulling it back. You're like, hi, I'm Nancy Pelosi, Trump. And you're like, all right, relax. All right, Jesusa, good to see you. Thank you for sending this dono in. And this one came in from Christina. What's up, Christina? Some nice donos coming in as we wrap it up. Thank you, my friends. It says, if Trump goes to jail, what are the rules regarding making money and how would this impact campaign fundraising? Well, I mean, Trump's already made $400 million as far as we can tell. So I think it'd probably go up dramatically. And making money, yeah, I think all of his business, all that would be fine unless something got seized or, the fine, the restitution is $50 billion because he stole the country from us or something. I don't know what the limitations would be there, but yeah, he can continue to make money in the campaign. He can fundraise. He can still campaign from jail. Again, I don't think that will happen, but it is a technical legal possibility. So thank you for that one, Christina. And Jonathan, good to see you on that one. Looks like I may have missed some donos on the locals. Let me see what's happening on that. So we just went through Milo phone bill. Yes, here it is. Okay, so my screen is refreshed. Hey, what's up, Milo phone bill? Let's see what this one looks like. So we'll share this one. Says, will Judge Merchan declare a mistrial due to Michael Anderson, who identifies as trans-abled and professional S-poster, and then what? No, I don't think so, Milo. I think that was mostly a just S-poster. I don't think it's actually, it's anything that actually happened. I think he was just making a post, so I don't think anything will happen from it. It says, Rob, I'm an engineer. I imagine that you as an attorney, you probably use mind maps to develop strategies. Yeah, and do the whole show. In addition to the social event, I would love to see skill development sessions at Watching the Watchers conferences like Las Vegas or at the Lodge. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm working on some of that. It's what else can we get into? So I've got 2 ideas that I would love to run by you at some point and get your thoughts on it. But I've got 2 kind of like mini courses. I don't want to build a huge long course, but like these mini courses. One would be on live streaming, so like a live stream accelerator. It's one of the things I get asked about most often from people is how do you actually do what you do? Okay, every time I go to these conferences, everybody wants to know. So some sort of a small mini course on that, just an accelerator pack to give you all the bullet points of what I do. And then the other one that I also get asked a lot about would be something about critical thinking, reasoning, persuasion, public presentations, razors to sharpen your thinking, stuff like that I think would be fun. And I've got some outlines for those that I'll be sharing with our membos and locals that I think would be fun to build out so that we have some evergreen knowledge. That's what the Lodge is for, is to create evergreen knowledge that we can all create a library and contribute to so that we have new informational supply chains, essentially. The old informational supply chains are broken. We need to rebuild those. So I want to be contributory to that. And I think we have a lot of brilliance in this community, in our audience, in our family here, that there will be other people who want to contribute as well. So we're building the infrastructure for that. But those are the two things: critical thinking, logical reasoning, and then another one on essentially live streaming. But then the Sovereignty Saturdays that we're also doing is we're trying to hone those down so that we're developing applicable skill sets. A lot of what we do on the channel, of course, is analyzing the problems in the world, but we also want to be part of the solution. Yeah, the country, the justice system feels like they're in a lot of disrepair and disarray, but that doesn't mean that our lives need to mirror those. In fact, we should be more successful than our opponents. We should be healthier, happier, freer, more sovereign, have more money, bigger muscles, all of it. So that's the plan. Judge Merchan sends letters to Trump and Attorney Blanchard, Prosecutor Bragg, about the troll Facebook comment. Blanchard, do nothing or demand a mistrial. Bragg, prepare for a new case, do nothing, prepare for inquiry, which he's already doing. Merchan, extending gag orders, drop the case, prepare congressional inquiries, process mistrials, and are there more stakeholders? Yeah, so this is great. So this is almost, it's like a brainstorm. I love mind maps. I use them all the time, as you know. The software we use is called MindMeister. I don't know which one this one is, but the software that we use is MindMeister. And it also looks like a decision tree. I think it's very good for cross-examinations and creating decision trees. So you ask this question: if yes, then this way; if no, then this way. And then you permutate those out. If yes, then this; if no, then this. And you can permutate those all out. And you can even do that for conversations with your significant other. You can do this with conversations with your boss, complicated conversations. Well, if I go in and I say this, then what could they say back? And you game that out. Well, what if they say this instead? You game that out. And not every conversation is going to be like you do in a court of law, where you can have leading questions and you can guide your witness, of course. But you still have an opportunity to think through the permutations of it with decision trees. If this, then that. If this, then that. Just flush it all out. So big fan of mind maps. And thank you, Milo. Sorry we almost missed those. Apparently, yeah, those came in early, so I don't know why you missed them. Zone Girl. Very interesting between Dallas attorney and Dr. Phil about the Trump verdict. Trump lawyers need to listen to this critique. Interesting one from Zone Girl. Glocky shared, so I think I missed some of these that started early. Says, Glocky, these are the same people who worry that you will send them to prison for corruption and for breaking the law. Says, oh no, Trump might jail the fascists. Meanwhile, in a fascist-run state, California is a dump. And there's another one from Glocky sharing some more articles over there. So Glocky, good to see you. Thank you for sending all those in. And very grateful for those amazing questions from our locals fam, which is where we're heading on over right now. And NY says, Pelosi's eyebrows, well, she left them in Taiwan. Could be true. I don't know where she left them. But that's Pelosi. And so, my friends, great comments. Thank you for all those amazing donos. And this beautiful Monday stream early in the day. Our plan now is we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go hang out on locals for a little bit and debrief, take some comments. Then your boy is packing up. We're out of here. We're going to make a quick stop by an event and then head on back to Arizona. Tomorrow we'll be back at the regular times. Membo streams in the morning, live stream in the afternoon. And so don't forget, check out watcherlodge.com. That's where we've got our tickets for our meetup. It's like 3 weeks away, coming up here quick. We'd love to see you come out to Vegas, grab a ticket, come meet us, come hang out. Mama G's coming. Some other very important people in my life are coming. And it's going to be amazing. So come check it out. watcherlodge.com. Right now, we're heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We're going to hang out and debrief for a bit on the day. But my friends, I want to thank you for joining us on this special Vegas edition stream. We'll be back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here in Arizona so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight, it almost killed myself, of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful day, my friends. Happy Monday. Have an incredible week. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.